Welcome into the tasting room. As always, we're glad you're here. It's an age-old question. What's in a name? Well, when it comes to craft beer, it could be the difference between a sale. When you look at a shelf full of brands that have all kinds of different gimmicks and marketing schemes. But when you look at Black Abbey, it's way more than just brand recognition. It goes back to the 1400s.
My name is Carl Meier. I'm one of the owners here at Black Abbey Brewing Company. I'm originally from upstate New York. I'm from a little tiny small town called Ballston Spa. Ballston Spa is the home of Abner Doubleday, the man who invented baseball. So that is my hometown claim to fame. But I'm super glad that y'all are here. I'm gonna talk about this beer, and then I'm gonna talk about the Black Abbey brand, how we got our name, that stuff. So the Rose is our flagship beer. It is a Belgian-style blonde ale, which means we use yeast that comes from a monastery brewery in Belgium. That brewery is called Chimay. The Chimay yeast is known for the sort of banana clove aromatic compound that you get in the nose. It's also known to fully attenuates, so it chews up about as much sugar as there is available, so the finished beer will end up dry. We use a specific malt blend to give that mid-palate perceptual sweetness, but it is actually a very dry beer, which makes that beer very, very good to pair with food, right? So Rose pairs well with food, which means, you remember those Miller Lite commercials where it's like, tastes great, less filling, I'm gonna fight, I'm Bob Uecker, you know what I'm talking, right? So that tastes great, less filling argument is not so much about beer as it is about sugar. Drinking a very sweet beer will fill up your gut and make you feel full. So we try to make food-friendly beers. That means most of what we do has a very dry finish, right? So the name The Rose comes from Martin Luther's crest. Martin Luther, the founder of the Protestant Reformation, when he would seal correspondence, he would use a crest, which was a golden ring with a blue field behind it, with a white rose and a red heart with a black cross in the middle. That was his personal iconography. When we were first building the brand, we thought that we would name all of our year-round beers after components of that crest. Gold ring, blue field, white rose, red heart, black cross. And I pitched that to somebody, and they said, "You're a purple horseshoe away from Lucky Charms, pal." And they were right, but the white rose, the rose remained. The Black Abbey sort of core identity is the statement, European-influenced American craft. When we were getting ready to open when we were doing business planning, starting in like 2009 up until 2013, the brands that were available, kind of in the United States, but also locally, were very sort of 50s retro themed. Like the breweries that were here were Blackstone, Bosco's, Yazoo, Fat Bottom, Mayday, and they all had this sort of like retro 50s feel to them. And they were doing the things that were popular at the time. They were doing pale ales and IPAs, and the kind of beers that my business partners and I were drinking were more European stuff. Like, I love the European style beers, whether they be Belgian or German or English. And so we were drinking a lot of that, and we thought, well, this is a good way for us to differentiate ourselves within the market. And I think from a marketing perspective, that's part of the reason why Nashville breweries all get along so well, is because everybody does what they do that allows them to differentiate themselves in the market overall, right? The name Black Abbey is derived from the monastery where Martin Luther wrote his 95 Theses. When Luther became a monk, he joined this monastery called the Black Cloister, had the Bible translated from Latin into German so that folks could understand it, realized, he didn't necessarily agree with the way the Roman Church was administering not just religion, but also government, right? In the Middle Ages, the church was in charge. And so Luther wrote his issues down, took them downtown and nailed them to the door of the Castle Church in Wittenberg, right? The Pope gets real mad, he didn't want that kind of disruption. So Luther is excommunicated, goes into hiding. While he's in hiding, he's under the protection of this feudal lord named Frederick. And Frederick realizes that he's protecting a political fugitive who is not in very good health. And Frederick didn't know anything about that. Like, he's like, I'm not sticking leeches on this guy. Like, I don't know. But I know when I don't feel well, my wife takes care of me, so I think we need to marry this guy off. Thinking the Pope can't get much more angry, they spring a nun out of a convent to marry this guy. It's true. Catherine von Bora, they spring her out of a convent, the two of them get married, and Frederick gives them as a wedding gift the monastery where Luther wrote the 95 Theses. So out with the monks, in with the nun-monk married couple. Catherine exercises the brewery rights on this property. In the Middle Ages, it was the nuns who were the brewers, not like now where it's the monks. The nuns ran the homestead, right? And they took care of the priests, right? Like that's a very Middle Ages ideal. And that was 100% what was happening. Catherine ran the homestead, and she brewed beer and effectively financed the Protestant Reformation on the backs of a brewery in the monastery where Martin Luther started it. He would write back from his ministerial travels saying, I can't find beer anywhere that's as good as the beer that I find that you make at home. The Black Cloister was the name of that monastery. The kind of beer that Catherine is making in the Middle Ages is more akin to what we think of as Belgian or Abbey style ale. The origin of finding this Black Cloister story was I was brewing at night. We used to homebrew when I was homebrewing at home, obviously. I had little kids, and so I'd mash in, the kids would help, and then I'd try to help put them to bed, and then I would go back outside and brew. And so it was late at night, and it was around Reformation Sunday, which is around Halloween, and it's like brewing a Belgian-style beer, and I was like, Luther was a monk, these are brewed by monks, wasn't he a monk? And so then I'm on Wikipedia reading about Martin Luther, reading this entire story, and then I texted my business partners, and I said, that's it, I've got it. Like, we should call the brewery the Black Cloister. And the next morning, my partner John texted back, and he said, drink 3 beers and try to say cloister. So Black Abbey it is. That is 100% where that name came from.
Just one of the many stories that happen organically when we're doing these pieces for the tasting room. We're glad you stopped by today. And as always, drink what you like.